Lessons and activities have different purposes and structures, and they require different planning decisions when you're trying to decide whether you want to use lessons or activities in order to teach. The lesson or activity plan structure is actually a form of scaffolding because it provides support in remembering what components to include. Now, lessons are used for the teaching of knowledge and skills that lead to a mastery of a specific, measurable, short-term objective that you can assess by the end of the lesson. Lessons conclude with formal evaluations of whether each student can individually and independently demonstrate the skill or knowledge. Now, activities are different because activities are used to help students progress toward mastery of a long-term objective. So, teachers develop activities as part of their long-term planning and have a clear purpose for activities that help students reach important goals, important objectives. Teachers can also use activities to help identify student needs and progress. When evaluations are used following activities, they are often less formal and less individual, and they are intended to measure progress rather than mastery. Teachers carefully observe students during activities and examine the products that the students create to decide whether additional activities or lessons are needed. Activities can lead up to lessons, they can be part of lessons, they can follow up lessons, or they can extend the lesson. And they have a variety of important purposes. So some of the purposes are that activities are used for interest building and motivation, usually before a series of lessons. They build or activate background knowledge. They introduce skills that can be taught thoroughly at a later time. And they review previous skills that have been taught or previous knowledge that's been taught. They can also be used to teach skills that aren't considered really important basic skills for the knowledge. And they always give you practice toward long-term goals. So these activities provide opportunities for students to apply a previous learned skill oftentimes, but not always. And they can provide opportunities for students to generalize information that they've learned in the past. They can also integrate knowledge and skills learned from a lesson in other subject areas if you're doing interdisciplinary content. So there are some questions you can ask yourself when you decide which plan you're going to write. Here are those questions, and you can review them. Because planning activities and lessons require really careful thought, and it becomes easier and less time-consuming to write when you have practice with it. For the questions that we just saw, you can see that should help you differentiate between whether you're writing a lesson plan or an activity plan. Now keep in mind, lessons conclude with formal evaluations of whether each student can individually and independently demonstrate the skill or knowledge. Students are individually demonstrating the skill or knowledge alone rather than with a partner or a group when you have lessons. They typically do not have prompts or corrections from the teachers when they are demonstrating their knowledge independently in a lesson. And in a lesson, the teacher provides complete instruction on the basic skill. So, complete instruction means that thorough teaching needs to happen in order for the students to reach the objective. This is more than organizing activities, giving directions, reviewing. The students may or may not have had previous instruction or some experience with what you're teaching that day. So, this complete instruction has to be very thorough. Important basic skills are either important for real life functioning or they're necessary prerequisites for upcoming skills that are going to happen in the lesson.